Hello, my name is Stefan Senna. This is my channel, The Coherence Path. All roads lead to you. And today I'm going to share one of my paintings that I did. I think it was the fourth painting after my what's called a near-death experience, out-of-body experience, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It's basically a shift of conscious perspective to a different conscious. Excuse me, my contact is deciding to bother me. A shift from one perspective to another. So in my experience, and I'll step aside here so you can see more of the painting, part of my experience was to be taken to different places, different scenes, and each scene was not a separate, world or a universe or reality. Just like dreams serve as a metaphor for us so that we can learn something more basic and deeper about ourselves, and maybe understand where our lives might be headed. Excuse me a second. There's two reasons why I don't edit things out. One is because I simply just don't care. This is me, this is my art, these are my comments, these are my experiences, and take them as you will. I'm not trying to sell anything, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. And the second reason is, hey, if you're starting your own YouTube channel and you have little oopses and screw ups, what does it matter? We're here to share our life experiences for those of us who are within this genre of YouTube. And if people can learn something from it, that's great. If they can't, then they're going to watch something else. So it really doesn't matter. But anyway, during that experience of mine in 1997, my life was, it wasn't enjoyable, let's put it that way. And when I entered that experience, that came out of an argument with, whether you want to call it or frame it God, your higher consciousness, the greater consciousness system. We had been in an argument for about a week, and a light at the height of that argument, me demanding that basically, no, to heck with you, I am not interested in painting or anything you have to say. A light came down from the ceiling, came across the room, and the only way I could describe it is it was like Thor's hammer hit me in the head, because it made my body collapse on the floor, and then I was instantly in another perspective. That some might say it's an out-of-body experience or near-death experience. I did experience a tunnel and other things, going to a meadow where I was greeted and communicated with, and those are similar to near-death experiences. If you're familiar with the International Association of Near-Death Studies, there's a gathering of a massive amount of information from millions of experiencers, and the experience I had is right on cue with the rest of those. What was unique for me was that I was told to paint, and that was the last thing that I wanted to do. I wanted nothing to do with art. I had been an artist from the time I was basically born. I remember scribbling with crayons when I was in diapers, frantically trying to create something of which I don't know what I was trying to create. I spent my early childhood years and adolescence, early adulthood doing art, but I had grown tired of it. It was all just technique for me. I had nothing to say. I had no emotions to express because they were all repressed due to experiences that I had in childhood, and I wanted nothing to do with it. Well, after I was struck by that light, this is one of the places that I was shown, and it was probably the third or fourth place. I don't remember now, but I can still remember it. I was given a bird's eye view of this scene. When I saw it, I was way up here looking down at this scene, and it was a very barren landscape. Um, this was like basically the only tree growing in the landscape, and you can tell it's contorted, it's twisted, it's been trying to reach that little bit of sunlight that's in that small patch of blue sky, and the rest of the sky is just an acid mass of clouds that are all twisting and curling and full of just, negative ions or chemicals. The ocean it looked like urine or acid. The land was barren and rocky, and the whole scene just looked like a toxic waste dump. And that pretty much described my internal emotional well-being up to that point. I had dumped all the toxic emotions that I had experienced growing up, and things that I had done, and regretful mistakes that I made. And I dumped them and repressed them down inside of myself. And that was where I was living. There was only the small little bit of light that I was allowing myself to feed off of, and that was basically just me getting through my day, make a little bit of money, and do superficial things that were fed my ego. Whether it was dating somebody or mountain biking or whatever it was. But the rest of the time, which I tried to fill most of my time with things to do, which I was good at. I was always busy, but I never really investigated what was inside of me because I just didn't want to face it. And so the figure I saw next to the tree, in my experience, crouched down, dark, in shadow, that was me. I was being shown that, I was three forms in that moment. I was the landscape that I had created. I was the yearning person next to the tree that was not knowing what to do, not knowing how to walk through life or even make sense of life, because it all just seemed a toxic waste dump. I saw chaos everywhere. I saw fear in everyone and everything around me, and life was chaos. Things would just happen, and I didn't know why, and then I would just move on to the next thing and try to suck a little bit of substance that was available outside of my own issues. And then the third element that I was shown was a being of light, a being that was impervious or protected from this environment. And that's what this being of light is here. I saw many beings out of light. They all kind of look like, somebody said in one of my earlier paintings, people said, "Oh, those look like bowling pins," because I didn't really see arms or legs. I just saw these beings of light, and I think they're just metaphors for love. That's all they are. Is that we're present, we're living, we're conscious, and we're love, and that's why they're light. But anyway, this being that I was shown was me, but a part of me that was impervious to all this environment that I had placed meaning on and had created for myself or responded to within my life. And I was basically mentally told when I viewed this scene that that there was an alternative available, that all these things were fine the way they were, but they weren't necessary, and that if I wanted, I could just change the scene. And that's what happened. You know, when I let go in that experience and I just said, you know, the past is the past, there's nothing I can do about it to change it, then I was shown another scene, and I'll share that, the painting that represents that scene in another video. But I learned a lot from this image. It was, even though I had no interest in doing art and hadn't really painted before my experience, I had mostly done watercolors and anything to do with pencils, colored pencils, pen and inks, pencils, charcoal, stuff like that. I had tried painting when I was younger and I just sucked at it. Paint was just this goopy, thick stuff, and I didn't know what the heck to do with it. But when I came out of my experience and stood up off the floor and shook myself back to consciousness in a human form, you know, first thing I wanted to do was paint these things that I had seen. And I just went about a process of asking the paint who wanted to go first, because I really didn't know how to paint the scenes. So when I painted this painting, the answer was this reddish orange or red, and I think it was cadmium red light. And I said, how much, you know, and I basically just squeezed the whole tube of paint out onto my little, you know, palette or whatever I had available. I don't remember now, but I just covered the whole canvas in red, and it was pretty fitting for the feeling of this painting, because as I started to mix the greens next and lay the greens down, which there was probably 3 or 4 different values of green in this image, they started covering that red, and the red started to interact with it. And that's not something I had thought about or anything, but in hindsight, I found it was a very interesting combination of colors. And, you know, I really didn't know how to really do any of the painting. So I just had the memory of what I had experienced, and then as I painted it, the images of that experience kept flashing through my head, just like boom, 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 boom. And so I just kept painting it. And that's been going on for, I don't know, it's 97, it's almost 30 years now. If I ask the question, what do I paint? I have a visionary experience that I paint. In fact, I just got an image when I just asked that question. And it's the same image that I've gotten for the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, because I tend to only get one image at a time, and then I paint them out. Once I paint them out, I get a different image. But I did ask one time, could I have 3 images at a time? And I got 3 images at a time and 3 experiences. But because I have limited space, once I win the lottery or am able to get a nice big space, I'm not going to be able to paint more than one painting at a time. If I had a huge space, I know that I could easily paint 10 paintings at a time or 20 paintings at a time. It wouldn't bother me at all. I've got a lot of creative energy in that regards. But anyway, this painting, hopefully you can see it all for the most part there. It's kind of hard to get in the picture here in this little room, but it's, let's see, I think it's 4 foot by 6 foot. It's on stretched frame. Most of my paintings, I've cut off the frames and they're just loose. They're just wrapped up in rolls, just canvas rolls, like I have one here. There's just a bunch of paintings that I've painted, and I've cut them off the stretcher bars and rolled them up because they just take up too much space. And I have, I don't know, dozens of those rolls. But I've never really done much with the paintings. I've had people commission me to buy paintings, and I've done that, and that's fine. Um, I sold a couple prints, but for the most part, it's not that. I don't think the purpose of these paintings, for me at least, has been to earn a living off of it. I thought that was the case when I first, had all these paintings and this wonderful experience. I thought, gosh, maybe this is going to be a new path for me, and I'll just, be able to make my money and life off of doing art. But they've been mostly for self reflection. And I've had a lot of interesting moments of where I learned again and again out of the same painting. And I'm learning from this painting now. It's telling me to focus more on joy and my own ability to have free will and to make good choices than to go the other direction and to just listen to fear or pay attention to toxic things that are in the environment, in the world, or other people, or whatever it is. So anyway, hopefully you found some entertainment or joy or perspective from this painting. I'll try to get out of your way again so you can see it. Again, my channel, The Coherence Path, All Roads Lead to You, is about consciousness and how things interplay and help us respond with consciousness. Why we're here, why our consciousness is in this human form, what's the point of life? I think the point of life is just like that Beatles song, sang, all we need is love. We're here to learn how to love, not act loving. Like I'm going to act loving and go to church and go to my job and, but really underneath you're not loving. You're just doing it to please others, or you're doing it to put on a face. That's not actual unconditional love. Unconditional love is just to be comfortable with yourself, to be comfortable with whatever's going on in the world or life, but be kind anyway. And that's unconditional love. It's not dependent on somebody doing something for you or you having a certain thing. And it's very simple. There's no secret to it. There's nothing complicated about it. When you do something kind or nice or loving, you have an immediate manifestation in your own field, your own consciousness that verifies that, and that is you feel better. You feel good about yourself. You feel good in the moment, and it's not something that's trying to make you anything better. It's just an acknowledgement. It's kind of like when you drink a glass of water when you're thirsty. There's just the acknowledgement in your body that, that was a good decision. And so, anyway, if you're interested in either viewing more of my art or listening to any of my topics of discussion on my channel, The Coherence Path, and I'd be grateful if you subscribed. I have an additional channel which is called What Was Seen, and that also covers consciousness, but from a different, more topical, more unusual topical point of view, and that is it covers paranormal things, Bigfoot, ghosts, superhuman strength, prophetic visions. I've had all of those, and those things caused me to be propelled into research, and so that's what I've done for a couple decades now. And I'm looking to interview people who have had their own experiences, and my main interest is to understand and explore how those experiences affected a person's consciousness, and if it made them make different decisions, think differently, feel differently, and how it might have affected not only themselves but their family because of their own changed perspective. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you again on the next video.